Hello, hello. My name is Garrett. I am the founder of 10x.dev, and today we're going to go through a pair programming session. So this is something that I basically have developers that I interview go through, and we build out basically connection with an external API and handle some caching and do some fun stuff like that. So instead of just having the developers that I interview go through that pain, I'm going to attempt the same thing myself. So um, I do a few things at 10x.dev, and we basically interview candidates, take them through the entire hiring process, and allow them to do that in one place instead of interviewing at a bunch of different companies, essentially doing a part-time job. And so um, I'm kind of recreating that here. I also do development work for companies. So as we go through and build out different pieces of software, I try to capture some of that. So this is going to be one of the initial takes on that. So one of the companies I'm working with right now is an SEO company, and they want to build out a dashboard. So they're working with this tool, the SaaS tool called LocalFalcon. And they basically aren't getting all the details they want out of this API. And so we're going to go through and set up a connection with LocalFalcon's API to kind of get behind the scenes more data than they could before, create some calculations, and display that on the UI. So that's what I'm hoping to kind of start here with you today. This is going to be a long process. I don't have very much time to do these recordings, but I'll kind of focus on this one. My goal is to do probably 30 minutes to maybe an hour and a half each day, and we'll kind of see where we go. But my goal is to just put some content out there for the Elixir community. I've been thankful to be a part of that, and I'm hoping that this video series, and I can continue to do this past this project, is just a way for people to see, hey, what do other people code like? What's the whole process of doing Elixir? How does this look in Elixir versus other programming languages such as Node.js or Golang or Java or C# or whatever it might be that you use? If you're interested in Elixir, check it out. I highly recommend it. The community is awesome. The docs are great. I mean, you can learn really, really easily through just reading through the Elixir docs. The community has made that great. So anyway, hopefully this will be entertaining for you. You get to watch me kind of fumble through some code and figure some stuff out, try to interact with this external API, and all while juggling the requirements that I've kind of put in place for myself for building out this connection. So just a side note, if your company's looking to hire, reach out to me. I'd love to help you guys find Elixir developers. We basically augment that interview process, and we pre-vet those candidates and deliver them to your inbox so that you get pre-vetted qualified engineers ready to take an offer without doing any of the hard work. Also, if you're a developer looking for a job, connect with me. I'd love to talk with you. I help you go through that interview process that one time so that you don't have to take on a part-time job looking for a job in Elixir. So, all right, with all that said, we're going to kind of jump into this guy over here, and I'm going to change the way that this screen is showing. So this is going to be, let's see if I can check this out. This is going to be the LocalFalcon thing. So we're basically getting search visibility into local Google My Business results and seeing how those are performing. So like I mentioned earlier, these guys basically are not providing the client that I have all the information they need through just like their dashboard. So we're going to say, hey, let's use Elixir and generate some cool stuff past that. So I just went in here. We're going to start off pretty much from scratch. I only did a couple things, which is like getting the API key, generating the project. And of course, I had to set up Tailwind, which actually these days is really easy. So that was no big deal. So that was really the only thing else I did. I was just looking through their docs here, and it looks like we're going to need probably 2 of these endpoints to start off with. So let's see if I can grab here we go. So these are going to be really tiny, but I will copy these notes. And we're going to jump right into this project here. We will say, so you guys kind of look this around. So it's going to be, what do I name this? Perseus. So what I like to do for any project is I like to choose a fun name. In Elixir, naming the project is going to be a little bit more like you're kind of locked in, right? Like with Node.js or PHP or other programming languages, a lot of the times you're not going to get locked into a specific name, but for Elixir, we are. So I like to make it fun and something I'm going to be typing a lot. So I chose, I like to go with the Greek mythology, Greek god um, naming convention just because there's so many of them that it's easy to just scroll through a Wikipedia list, choose someone that looks interesting or a name that looks fun to type a lot and choose it. So I chose Perseus here. All right, so I kind of wrote out some objectives that we have. We'll kind of just try to run through these as best as possible. I'm going to be testing as much as possible to continue to improve my testing abilities. So we've got like the default Phoenix tests here. So I'm going to pull open a new window. I try to have these namespaced here, but let's see. I want mix, test, watch. I'm a huge fan of this because I don't like to rerun the test thing, test watcher every time. So we're going to go ahead and add this to our mix.exs file. As you can see, I already added in the tailwind. We're going to get that immediate red there. So I'll install those dependencies. All right, got that going. And then we can see that if I run mix test.watch, that should just watch all the tests for us. All right, so now let's jump into it. So our first objective is to call out to the locations endpoint here. All right, so I got this list all connected locations. So basically, this is pretty simple. Like you can filter down by the query, but all you really need is the API key, and that's via the query string parameters. So I have this locations, I have this base API already stored, so I stored that and the API key in the config. So we're going to now define a locations endpoint here. We're going to connect that guy. So what I want to do is basically, to start off with, this project is going to be just dealing with LocalFalcon, but I kind of like to namespace it still. So I'm going to go in here and create a new folder called LocalFalcon. And then with that, we're going to start off, and we'll add that out here actually, with a local falcon.ex file. And then that's going to be off of Perseus. Okay, so now we got this guy here. And basically, we want to list the locations, right? Don't need any parameters on there. Initially, we'll get an empty list. So let's go ahead and create that test file. Perseus. And then we want local falcon.ex actually. And that's going to create as a directory because I'm silly. Yes, move that one to the trash. And in here, I want to create a local falcon.ex file. Oops. .ex. Okay. So now we're going to do def module Perseus.localFalcon test. And then for now, we'll use xunit.case. And then we'll have that be async true. Okay. So to start off with list locations, gets back in gets back a list of locations. Okay, so we're going to say here that when we call Perseus.LocalFalcon list locations, so right now that'll be obviously a empty list. So should get green on the test runner. And I'm not seeing an extra test on there. Let's just make sure that we're getting the new one here. Oh, I didn't. Silly me. It's looking for EXS files. And it needs to be test. Okay, now it should pop up. Okay, so now we got 4 tests, all passing. Hooray, look at that. Let's ship it. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to call this API, and they give us some nice like sample data here. So I think we might use that. I always like to try to use the sample data they have there to ensure that use the sample data basically in the tests. I think that's helpful. We're assuming that their sample data is solid, so we're going to assume that. And for right now, we can say let's see here, sample data. Initially, it's going to be this guy. Okay, so Epic Web Studios. All right, so now we're going to make our API call. Okay, so let's go to the LocalFalcon test here. So here we want to make API call, parse the response. Okay. Now, I have never used request, but I'm going to try request today. So I've been looking at it. It looks cool. See how it goes. I normally use Tesla myself, but I know people don't prefer that because of the macros and such. So we're going to try this out. Get good old request going. We're going to put this in our mix EXS file because we're not doing it in an Elixir script. Okay. Call mix steps get. Looks like it uses. I didn't realize it uses Finch. Pluggable adapters. By default, request uses Finch. There you go. Cool. That was one of the things I appreciated about Tesla was you can just plug Finch in the back end or use any other adapters. So this one looks like it by default uses Finch. Okay, cool. Because I enjoy Finch. Been using that quite a bit. So we'll go ahead and compile that guy. We got request logged in there. We'll go ahead and try this guy out here. So it looks like you do base URL. Cool. All right, so we'll go ahead and put this guy up here. Okay. And then what do we get back here? Just want to see the response type. Okay, so that's right. That's just going to give us the description, but I want to see. So we get a body, it looks like. Are we getting any specific struct back? Request response body, and probably get a status code here. Status 200. Okay, so I'll use this with block here. Let's see the body, and then Status, did I say status or status code? Status is 200, which we expect, and we also expect that from the LocalFalcon. It says it's going to return 200 there, so I mean most APIs do, but just good to know. Okay, get status 200 there, and we're just going to see what we end up with. Inspect the body, and we'll just return that empty list so that we don't get big error in the way. Okay, so I realize I'm doing this against the wrong API. I wanted to see. So it looks like it does, at least for this example, decode it, which is cool. So we'll see if it decodes the JSON if I do our LocalFalcon one. So we're going to let's see here. We'll do config application get env, and then our app name is Perseus, and we're going to say Perseus LocalFalcon dot, don't want dot, and then we'll say that the API key is going to be keyword dot fetch. I think we want fetch env here too, because if that fails, we really want to know about it. So we're going to say we're going to get the config, and this one's going to be API key, and then we'll duplicate that as well for the base URL. Okay, and then we're going to say here that we got the base URL with locations. And then I think there's like a, let's see, how did they do put params here? I think it was just params for the query. Yeah. Params, and we're going to say API key is underscored. Copy that. See what we get. Okay. I think I named it like LocalFalcon or something. Probably should do the module. Okay. So we got some data back. It looks like it is JSONified. So we got to decode it. What if there's a decode? There's an encode body, response step, decode body. Did they just do it for you if you ask, or? Okay, decode body. If set to false, disables automatic response body decoding. Defaults to true, but I'm not seeing that as defaulting to true. Am I? See, it looks like this one's just decoding it here. Okay, let's try to go to the top here. What am I missing? Method get. Request body. Response body. How do you pass these things? Base URL, params. I could probably try base URL. That looks cool. So that would be like, so you got params. I'm going to try base URL first. Base URL. Uh-oh. I didn't get my response back here. So maybe that didn't work. Am I reading this wrong? Let's see here. Response body options. No, I want base URL. Let's read more into this here. Request URL is that. Okay. Oh, yeah, so I guess you have to do it as base URL there. That's a separate thing. Okay, that's fine. Don't want to get too crazy. All right, so I'm not sure why the response body is not being decoded here. Maybe I'm missing something. So I will just decode it myself. And let's do this. So we'll expect that okay arrow tuple. And then here we got the body. We'll just override that. So this should actually be a body. And we can, yeah, let's pattern match on this guy. We know that it's going to be status. What did they say? Okay, decode body here. Let's just look at this guy first. I want to get ahead of myself. Decode the body. We are looking at success true. And skip through those guys. Code is 200. Okay. I don't know if we need to duplicate that. We really could, just so that they know. And here I'm going to do keys are going to be atoms, so I can just work with this better. Code is 200 again, even though we're already matching the status code up top. A lot of APIs do this where they'll return a 200 and then it's actually potentially a failed response. So they'll put the code in here. So we'll know that, we'll keep track of that. And then we have this count here. All right, so we got 287 different locations and we want data out of that. So data is data. Okay, that failed. I think I messed up one of the things here. Maybe it was the code a string. Code data. Let's see what we're getting here. Else. Okay, I'm guessing this is the failed one. Okay, code 200. Okay, so we get okay tuple. Oh, I'm doing it as a key. What am I doing here? Percent sign. Too early in the morning, I guess. All right. Okay, success true. Code 200 data. That should pattern match without failing. So now if I just remove this guy, I should get the log. Okay. So now what we can do is this is also another thing. I've seen this. I've used mocks, MOX, for my mocking, and I've heard some people's criticism of it. Of you have obviously your API interface, right? Then you have your basically your defined behavior, which creates the contract. And then when you have your tests, to be able to use a mock on a specific contract, then you're actually testing a greater, you're basically mocking a greater surface of your code. And so some things potentially get left out of the tests and you're just mocking those, which I thought was interesting. So I see how that could easily happen. Feel like I have ways to get around that where you basically can split up the API call module into its own individual modules so that when you mock it, you're only mocking the actual API call and not the parsing of the request, which I think what they're talking about. But I wanted to try a different approach. So I'm always open to learning new things and trying things out. So uh, I've heard bypass is a really good one. I'm going to try it, and I've never used it before. So we're going to see how this goes. It might take me a little bit longer, so bear with me there. But basically, I'm going to follow this guy. So we have a test here, and that's our LocalFalcon test. I have my sample data, which we can decide to move out or whatever. But for now, we'll do this. So it seems like you need to do some setup, get a bypass, pass it through the context here, and then so I think it creates like a running server, it looks like. I'm pretty sure. Maybe it's just a process that acts as something, but we're gonna try it out. All right, so let's just try this guy. Looks like we can depend on it being async true, which is cool. And then I will set this guy up. I'm just gonna do it in the describe block. We got this now in the context, so we'll add that here. Bypass. Spell that right. And then it looks like you can expect requests, which is good. So I will do that. So I expect a request, which is going to be a GET request to I can mock this out. I can mock out the base API URL, API base URL with the, okay, so I'm just going to try the locations at. I'm not sure where they're, if it just grabs the path or how that works, but we're going to check that out. So we've got the bypass, get the connection. So this is returning a plug response. Okay, and then here I would want the 200. And then, oops, I have my sample data. So we'll do sample data, right? It looks like I'm getting code 200, success, true. Didn't care about those, and then data. So I should expect to get this back. So I can do JSON.decode sample data, and then say that data. I should expect that that's my response. Let's see if that works. Bypass open. Oh, I didn't even define bypass. Whoops. Got to install it. Silly me. I should read through this a little bit. Okay, to use bypass to open a connection port. If you want to test what happens, put down, bypass down. Oh, that's cool. How to use it? eSpec? Nope. Okay, so let's go to, I always like the GitHub. It's always so good for just mix. Here we go. We need a mix install, people. Who's going to do it for us? I want to be able to type in the command line like npm install. Mix install bypass. That's what I want to be able to do. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why we shouldn't have that. The developer experience is so good that I'm tired of needing to look at a website, copy the mix thing, paste it in my mix.exe, get the fat error output on my IDE here, just for me to have to run mix-dev skit. It should just be, I know I want bypass, I install it from my command line. Tell me why I'm wrong. All right, I got that installed. Now, when I run mix test watch, I should be able to see something. Volume arguments were given to access.get. And that is line 40 in the test. Sample data. Oh, duh. I can't access get on the JSON before I decode it. So we'll do that. Okay. I'm expecting, because I was returning an empty list. Okay, so now I'm trying to decide, do we want the count or do we want just the locations? Interesting. I kind of like the count. So basically our goal is we're going to be displaying these on a table in the UI. So we could I'm actually going to do assertion here. I don't know why I just did that. Okay, we're going to take this guy and we're going to assert API call. No, let's do this. Response. Okay, I expect the response equals that, and I expect that the response dot counts equals response dot locations length of that. Expect these to be the same. We don't really need to store the count. We have a list. We could always run the count if we want. There's not that many. I don't foresee that being a problem going forward. All right, let's get this test passing and then we'll move forward. So we expect the happy path programming here. And we'll say, okay, data. And we really don't care about the count, I don't think. So we're going to do all right, this is a problem because we are not bypassing to a specific URL. So basically what I'd want to do here API, how do I want to do this? Basically put env, we're going to do Perseus, LocalFalcon, and then we want to do base URL. Will be an empty string. What a hacky way to do it. Now it should match because we're going to concatenate an empty string with, okay, let's see here. Base URL. Is it like a bypass URL I need to do or something? Let's check that out. inspect bypass. What am I getting here? Should I do a bypass URL? Bypass port. Oh, so I probably need to do the bypass port. Okay, probably should get rid of that log so I can see what I'm dealing with here. Okay, yeah. So it starts up its own server, you get a port. So I think it'd be like here. The base URL is probably going to be 7.0.0.1. Port is going to be bypass.port. What am I doing wrong here? Application, Perseus, LocalFalcon. Let's just go to the Elixir docs here. Put env. App key value. Oh, it's already, wait, app, the key, and then the value. Oh, yeah, it has to be. Okay, so this is, the value is going to be the list. And the API key is going to be boom, take that. Still getting a ton of data back, which doesn't make any sense. That should not happen. Let's remove this guy, get rid of those logs. Okay, let's go past this, and we should see we're getting that bypass port. All right. Let's comment that out for now. We're going to go over here. We're going to see what's the config. Base URL. Okay, so it's not getting overwritten. But why? Do I spell Perseus wrong? Let's see here. My name's this guy. I think I spelled it wrong. No bypass applications. Am I supposed to do base URL here too? Yeah. Save that thing. And then we'll get, might have to do this. Dynamic path. Okay, so it doesn't want that because it's probably assuming that it's going to be on that bypass instance. So we do just want the locations. But then this guy, why is that not getting the base URL? What am I doing wrong here? Application put env. I know I'm missing something here. Put E and V. 1, 2, 3. The options come out. Perseus, LocalFalcon, base URL. Okay, I am getting that base URL in the application. So why is it not doing that then? So we're fetching the env here. Let's try that. I think because I used fetch env maybe. Let's see. Nope. All right, why am I not getting this here? Application, get env, LocalFalcon. The API key and the base URL are not being updated. Okay, what am I doing wrong here? Go back to the drawing board. All right. Bypass connection. They're passing an endpoint URL. Maybe I should just try this. Localhost. Maybe it's trying some weird stuff with the. I'm still getting this. It's not getting overwritten. Why? All right. Let's see here. Gotta rethink this here. So I am getting this application config here, and I'm not overriding it now. Okay, I'm just gonna try something here. Endpoint URL. We are going to saw something cool the other day. One of the developers that I interviewed used process get to get isolated config. All right, so we're going to do process get um, All right, here we're going to do Perseus. Okay, so basically you would get the application config, and then instead of overriding the application config, which apparently I can't even do that, but we're going to try it this different way so I can maybe catch something I'm missing. But you get the application config, and then from that, you're going to get from the process. Apparently, process.get allows you to have like a key value dictionary, process dictionary by process. So we're going to get the values that we've assigned in this testing process, and then pull in those updated values if we set them process by process. So we don't need to like nuke the whole application config. We could still have async tests without needing to have conflicts where we're at race conditions, where we're setting the application config on a beginning of a test and trying to set it back on the end of the test. But if tests are running in parallel, that would cause issues. So we want to do keyword dot merge application get Perseus LocalFalcon with the process get. We'll do LocalFalcon. That'll default to an empty list. And then we have else. We are going to do this guy, just normal unexpected token. Oh yeah, and we want to, these are going to be defined functions. So here, we're going to call config. And then here we're going to do process.set, I think it is, process put. Ah, okay, and I defined that as, heyo, that actually worked, and I don't know why the other one didn't, but sweet. Okay, so we got the base URL updated. We do need just like a mock API key there. And then comment these back in. We should expect to still see that pass because it's the same data. Sort of, maybe. Oh, one's keys, one's not keys. Okay, and then we're going to update this here to be, we want the locations. We'll do that up here. Data. Keep going. Pattern match it up. This here is happy path programming, because we really only care about the pattern match successes, and if it fails, we'll get whatever failure, and we can handle that. Okay, so we'll return okay here, right? So we got the locations back. Here we'll say keys are atoms. And then we expect that the length of the response, these are now locations, data.locations is what did I do here? Wait, what was that a second ago? Response.locations. Oh, okay, I was just doing the count versus the yeah, basically we expect that to be one. Expect there be one location. And on the right side, we're still getting not just locations. Because why? The left is a list, the right is not. The left is a list, the right is not. This one must be locations. That's right, I removed that. Okay. So now, still getting that log over here. Let's clear those logs out. So we made the API call and we parsed the response. We're getting our config there. We have it isolated by test. So now let's just do a error case here. So we get back error. And I don't know exactly how their errors are going to look, but let's just say bad request. Request was invalid, likely to missing incorrect parameters. Okay, so we could probably try that with commenting these out temporarily. That out. Oh, we still had put env in here? I didn't want that. Let's make sure that still runs. Okay, yeah, it still works. So now this guy is failing because I commented out that, but I really want to see what happens when I do LocalFalcon. I want to say this is an API key 2. I should expect to get an error. And I want it to be a 400. So we're going to do our error case. What happens when we have an error? 401 unauthorized. Okay, well that's but we can expect that a message is set. Success is false. Okay. So what we'll do here is I want to have an else, and I want to be able to see if it's still. I want to do this. And then if the body, okay, so we're gonna decode it, and if it works, we will say that we want the error to be response message. Okay, and then otherwise, this guy is going to just be unable to make proper API call, just for now. All right. So let me body here. Okay. Can never succeed. This is going to be All right, we'll say if the status is 400 to 401. Dang, nil, huh? So that means it got here. Bear with me here, people. I am just coding through this thing. I'm trying to see what we got here. So it's saying 401 data message. Oh yeah, because it's not a string key anymore. I made it an atom key, so we'll do that. Response.message should come back. Okay. And we'll say that if this thing does well, gets back an error, that's going to be, do I want all that? What do I got here? PI key. Okay, so we'll get that going. This will be this guy. Basically want this. code. Pretty true, just for now. Get that logged out. I really want this to print out pretty. I remember how to do that here. How do I do that? All right, I'm just going to do this guy here. I'll say if I have a new line, you don't see those? All right, then I'm going to replace it with an actual new line. Boom, pretty JSON. If I have a backslash, replace it with that. Okay. Cool. That's our new error sample data. We'll put these things back in. We will do our bypass. Get extra. Don't want this anymore. We should expect that this gives us error. Oops. That should match. Cool. So we got our success case and our error case. How are we looking here? I don't know how long into this call we are exactly, but doing well, I think, still. Hopefully you guys are all enjoying this. I'd love your feedback, by the way. Feel free to post comments, tell me how wrong I am or how I can improve or ask questions. I'd love to help, whatever we need to do here. All right, so let's kind of reassess where we're at. So we got 2 tests right now. We're about an hour in. I'm going to go ahead and delete this file. We don't need that anymore. We got our 2 tests. We got our call here. I'm not sure why this is saying it won't work. Nil can never succeed. All right, well, that's working though. Is that not working? We should be getting this back here. IO inspect here. What is happening, right? I'm saying you need to have air. Oh, maybe it is not working. Crazy here, huh? Forgetting how to do this. Is it like that? No. Total error. What am I thinking of doing that? All right, I'm just going to do case where that's okay. Response here, else is going to be not okay. These are my expected cases. don't care about that. It's just going to be that guy. All right. Less errors. Unable to make proper API call. But why? All right, let's see what this guy is here. Ah, jeez. I'm falling apart here, guys. I gotta keep myself together. Some more coffee, you know? All right, here we are getting what? Okay, so I'm parsing out in this request. So, okay. Oh, yeah. This is no longer a request response. It's just a map because we already parsed that out. Come on. That's why see, this is why this needs to be like a Twitch live stream. So you guys can tell me how wrong I am. All right, let's see if that also didn't work. So maybe there's more to it than that. Body status, because I'm not dealing with that yet. So in this case, if I'm already decoded, right? Is that right? I'm already decoded the body. However, it's not. Okay, so I don't need to do this here. So JSON decode, but it's coming back with a successful decode where I'm getting live data. It's going to be an empty list. They have code. All right, code is in that. I was mixing up where I left at. So basically, I'm going to pattern match on the specific request itself. If that fails, we're going to go here and say, hey, we couldn't do it because this one will not meet. Then we're going to say JSON decode, and then we're going to check that that matches this statement. If that does not match, we get a decoded. We get the already decoded map to JSON, which is now a map that we can check here and say, hey, is this the structure we expect? If we're in this state of things, then we'll handle it here. So in that case, I don't need to do the decode here. And I just care about saying, we got your response message. Otherwise, we have no idea what happened. Sorry. And that should pass. Doesn't pass. Doesn't pass, but why? Am I still getting here? Let's see what we got. I would expect data, code, and message. Code, data, and message. And it's in an OK tuple. It is in an OK tuple. So I would want to say that I expect it to be OK. We successfully JSON parsed it. Here's our JSON parse results. They are not a successful response. Now it passes. So I will remove this. Okay. So finally, now we have two successful. We have one successful, one failing API check for locations. All right. So after I finally fumbled through the whole bypass thing, I'm digging it. I think so far this is cool. I think we could have these be in API fixtures, but for right now I'm going to leave them in here. I kept them pretty small because we don't really care about doing anything crazy big. Now, let's look at our objectives, which I think I put somewhere for CS. Okay, call it the locations API, get a locations. only grab the name, place ID, and address from the API call. Make sure that we're getting all the data from the API. If not, we need to paginate the API call and run until we get it back. How's their API going? Standard return structure. Okay. I'm not sure if we'll need to. Okay, so the other one, something to note here. This one says list all connected locations, returns an array of locations. This guy says list all previously run scans. Down here it says you can pass an X token and it returns a scan. If more records exist than is allowed within the limit, a value will be returned under next token. So they probably expect this one to be just absolutely massive. And I'm gonna make my face bigger here. Can you guys see me okay? I don't know if I want to put it right in front of the code, but I'll keep it over here. All right. Yeah. So my thought process is on the locations, we're going to get everything, and we could try to verify that. But for sure on these reports that we're running, these will give us back a fraction of what we want. So this one we're going to need to for sure have pagination logic. Okay. So in here, we're going to do def list. We want reports by location. So here specifically, we do not want all reports. We want only the reports by location. I mean, really, I guess we could potentially want all reports, but we only want the reports that are going to come back for the locations. It'd be nice to namespace them or have them grouped underneath that specific key. So here we could say place ID. It looks like what you passed in. And that's a Google Place ID, it says. Start and end dates. We'll have to double check that we want all of them, but maybe we only want like the last 3 months or something like that. So we can dig into that later. Kind of see what the data we're getting back here. All right, so this guy. Also, I feel like I want fetch env on these. Let's make sure that still works. All right, so I think I like fetch env there better. So it'll raise if it doesn't exist because we expect it to. This all depends on those environment variables being there. All right, and then we basically just want to kind of do something super similar to this. So we will say that we want, instead of locations, we want reports. That's what it says there. So delete that guy. And then here, we want these to be API key, not API key 2. Okay, once we get that, we expect the data structure is going to be super similar, but it's going to say reports this time. So we'll say reports. Oops. All right, and then think I'm going to do something like this. So I want to get all the reports. I'm going to say next token. If we get that back, and I'll say accumulator, which is all the reports. Just say all reports there. But yeah, I'll have that there as a placeholder. We're going to do that, but right now we will not. Okay, so this guy we want place ID, and then limit defaults to 10, 100%. We want to bump that up to 100. Get as many as we can in each API call, so we have to make fewer API calls. And then we'll see what we get. I think that's, I mean, they're pretty similar API calls, so we'll see. Here we're going to write a test for it, obviously, so we'll say this guy. And the cool part is now I think this is going to be beneficial to where we get a new bypass port here. So these technically could be like completely different, separated, which is cool. I don't know if that's going to make a huge difference in this specific case because we don't need to. I don't think we need to do much anything really different, but we'll see. Okay, it's just cool. It's cool to know. So let's go ahead and copy this idea here. So get the bypass URL there. We'll get this stuff here. Okay. So base URL, that we need a sample data. Which is going to be this guy. Nice, pretty printed format. Okay. And then we want this to not be saying list locations is duplicated. Oh, the test. List reports by location 1. By place ID. Okay. So here now we want to get a list of reports by place ID back. So we can expect that this is the output. I mean, they give us this as a sample output. We can expect that if this exists, I mean, they say count is 10 here, but really they give us 1, right? So that count, now we know that that count is only, at least for this API call, is only for that initial call. So we can't even depend on that. I don't know if it says it here. We can't depend on that to say, hey, there's a total of 3,500 reports here. We've only got 100 because that's the max we can offer for our, that's the most we can do for our limit. Let's like decide how many times we need to call it. We basically just have to check like if there's a next token, then we'll do that. So I saw that and I added this structure here. So basically if we get a new token here and it's not nil, then we're going to call it again and we'll basically do like a recursive call is what I'm thinking. And we basically just call it until there is no next token or next token is nil. So the parameters used to get the next page of results, the value used with parameters provided from a previous response endpoint where pages results exist. But I think that will be nil if it doesn't need to fetch again. And we'll know very quickly if we start making recursive calls and it just goes forever. So we'll go ahead and play with that. Okay, where am I at here with this? We want to comment that back out because we're not ready for it. But for get list, okay. So does this have a place ID? It does have a place ID. So we really do, this is the sample data, but we'll use this guy. As place ID. Okay, put it up here. Place ID is going to be that guy. Let's run this with a string. All right, and then we're going to want, we expect to call, okay, now here we want to assert that the place ID is passed in. Okay, so because this bypass happens in a different process, I'm pretty sure this will be called in a different process, which is the server that returns the response for us on that different port that we've registered, that it's registered up here. We want to just send ourselves a message. And we want to make sure that the connection, I think it's params. Pretty sure. Params are great params. I'll have to look that up. And then we want to assert receive. And that'll be like, what's the gonna look like? What's the params look like here? Params, API key, but we should also expect that we get that assert receive, where'd it go? So we got the API key, and we know what that is, so that should be API key, but also we should expect to get the place ID, right? And we call it place ID, that's what it is. So let's match on that. We could even add this in up here too, so that we can match on us providing the API key. So grab this guy down here, we'll copy the same idea. Need that one, okay. So we will say here that we expect the test PID to be that, and we expect to send ourselves the connection params, and then here we'll receive that we got the API key. That API key is going to be defined up here. Okay, we'll down here and then assign it here as well. All right, so now this guy will list reports by location with a place ID passed in. All right. Got a few errors here. Let's try to start this over and see what we got. Undefined function locations. That's our first thing. Oh, I had a comma there. Do I have a comma on this one too? I sure do. Gonna cause some problems. An exception was raised. Route error. API key, place ID, limit. Six tests, two failures. Look at that. We're making reverse progress. All right, so I'm trying to remember, do I need to have, so the API key one worked before this. Let's see if we just want to go back to my list locations here so I know for sure that this guy watch. Test versus LocalFalcon, and we want line 11. Okay, that guy's working. We want line, let's do 5 so we get the describe block there. Okay, and then now we're going to try, what about just 92? Okay, so these errors are all happening on that one test. Okay, that's good. So now this guy, we're saying here we are saying what? Why is it failing? I'm trying to think through here. Are we getting a connection there at all? Interesting is it's like chaining these request URLs getting longer and longer with just duplicated values. So what am I doing wrong over there? Let's look at this guy. We're not recursively calling this one. Definitely aren't doing anything there. So what's going on here? So I get this. I expect that to be called once. Oh, this is location. So let's do reports, right? Okay, silly me. So there you go. All is passing. So I got that. I want to be able to see reports. And I want these to be reports. Okay, so initially we're good there. Now I want to be able to say paginates. We say if the, what's the token next? All right. So that's those. If next token is provided, we call the API. So here we're going to say that next token, which is here, I'm going to copy this so I don't lose it. Actually, we're going to duplicate this whole test because it's valuable. And then in here, I will get rid of next token. Oh, gosh. So in JSON, that's null. Okay. And then here we gotta, where is it? Example next token. So all we have to do, all right, so we'll say here, we're gonna make this one a function and we'll pass in next token. Okay, and that's going to return this. All right, so now we're going to generate the sample data on the fly for each of these. So we'll say I copy that next token. I don't know if I did. I'll copy it from over here. I lost it. Next token is example token. I like using this test data here. Okay, and we want this to be a string, so I'm specifically putting it in quotes on top of it being a string because I want it to work out in the, in here, I want it to either be the blank value null, which I have to pass that as a string to be interpolated there as a string, but it's going to not have quotes around it. And then this one, I specifically want it to be a string so I can interpolate it, but when I interpolate the value, I want it to have quotes wrapping around it because that's what is going to be defined in JSON is I want to see that. So that's why I did this whole string thing here. So we can expect that to be the output. Okay, so we'll do, we should expect next token. I'll save this guy. Okay, this time it should be next token. And then this time it should be nothing. We shouldn't pass next token because we have reached the end of the results. There's no next token provided to us, meaning we won't call it again. So we can expect those two cert receives. First one being from this first one, second one being from the null passed in. And then these will check, these should check that the expectation should be called twice. And we will assert that we have two reports on the length here because we'll basically build out the functionality where we'll get the first call, which is right now we just have defined as giving us one result here. And the second one will be called, giving us, in this case, the exact same piece of data, but it'll be two values, and we want to concatenate those together to get a list of all the reports for a given location. All right, so we should expect that passes. It looks like I maybe have an error here. Undefined function bypass. Where are we missing that? I don't have it passed in here on the test. Bypass, put that in a context. Make sure it matches on the name. All right, and then this will fail first. What I expect, because we don't get that next token. Yeah, I think that's what we expect. So now I can go over here and say that I want to get all the reports. Get all reports by place ID. Get all reports by location, right? And basically, we should be able to do this inside of it. I don't know if we necessarily need a new function for this. We can just do it in here. So we basically just want to do all this, which we were already doing. And if we have, where's this located? Limit, start date, place ID, grid size. So we get next token next to the count. So data. And I wonder if we always get next token. So we'll do this. Data. And then we'll say if next, if data.next token, then we want to be able to say, oops, we are going to list location, no, list reports by location. We got our place ID still. They are managing the pagination for us. So they've got their own limit and offset rules, which this hash that we have defines. So now I just need to pass in the next token and the accumulator, which is reports, right? So now we're just basically going to accumulate this value as it goes. So we'll take these, put them up here. And I think we're going to always want next token here, but it'll be null sometimes. Or in this case, an empty string. So we could say that we assert receive that, and this should be an empty string. So we'll put that in here. Actually, we'll need to specifically, like the other one, define that that is an empty string. Do to close that properly? I think so. Okay, I don't know if we want to pass in next token. So what we can do is just say there's going to be params here. Okay. If this is nil, yeah, I forget exactly how to do this. Is it this way? I don't think that works. Forget exactly how to do that. So we'll just do this. Concatenate those two together. Didn't close that apparently. Okay, that's going to be all reports. So all reports. And we want to be sure to concatenate these. Okay, so no matter what, we're getting all of the data here. Now we don't want to check against next token here. Route error. I think I'm doing something wrong. All right, so we're getting those two. And now we're getting bypass errors because something. We could say if next token is nil, then just add the params. Otherwise, we add next token to the params and pass those in. So why is that not working? Is it because we're passing? Probably because this needs to be null again. Let's check if this is empty. Check here. Forget if we do. Which one would be truthy, right? Let's just see if that works. I think the empty string should still be truthy here. So check that guy out. Nope, still saying that is it passing. Heyo. It didn't look like it was passing next token though. API key. So yeah, it's like concatenating the query strings together. Okay, reports API key place ID. Limit 100. Okay, we got an error. Status 500. Why? Why did you get an error? Check out these params here. Okay, so it is adding next token, even though, oh, that's why. Do that. I have it switched around. This was truthy, but now we're still getting, okay, next token equals empty string. All right, guys, I'm gonna have to wrap this up here pretty soon. Police ID, limit next token is an empty string, next token is nil. Because we're not passing it as such. Why are we not passing it as such? Where am I getting this wrong here? So here we want to be able to have next token. We'll plug that guy out. All right, so here we're seeing next token is an empty string, which I feel like we wanted it to be something else initially, right? Want it to be, I think there it's being passed as an empty string. I wonder if it calls, if you can have, maybe expect once is not the right option here. Maybe we will actually want, expect the path function to be called at least once for it to grout. All right, I basically want, I don't know if I want to expect once. I want to be able to see, hey, I'm getting the token, and then I want to be able to call it again. So I don't think expect once is going to, I think maybe just expect. Let's see if that, because I don't want it to override. And I don't know if I define it second, if that's going to be called first. So we'll see. Oh, so yeah, this is where we're going to get into an infinite loop here, because I think it just takes the last expect, which is actually not what I want. So this one should just only give me an empty string. This one seems to also be calling it infinitely. All right, what am I doing wrong here? So yeah, basically I need to figure out how to get that guy I'll have to read through these docs a bit more. I don't know if I necessarily want to stub it. But I do want to be able to say for the first request, we get this, and then after that request, we're going to get this other thing. So I don't want that to be too janky. So I'll have to kind of think through this. But either way, we're making progress here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this time with me. I'm going to go ahead and call it there. I think that was fun and exciting. Hopefully you guys are going to get something out of this. I'm going to try to do these daily. This one was 2 hours almost, an hour and 51 minutes. Let's see here. I'm gonna try to do maybe 30 minutes to an hour each time. I think with this whole like setup and getting things going, I was a little bit more invested. But we'll kind of see how that goes and take it from there. Again, I'm the founder of 10x.dev. If you guys are looking to hire, reach out to me. I take candidates through examples just like this, so you can kind of see how they can think through problems, how they're solving these real world problems, and how they could be an asset to you. If you're a developer, hopefully you enjoy this content. Keep watching, and I would love to hear from you. Reach out to me. We'll connect, and we'll see if we can help you out with looking for different positions. All right, guys, thank you so much for your time. I look forward to seeing you hopefully tomorrow. So be on the lookout for some content and like and subscribe.